Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancer challenges. My name is Yuri, I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Christopher Tester, a freelance voice actor for when Cumberbatch is busy, with 15 plus years of experience, who lets his demons speak from time to time while sharing his home studio with Honey the cat. So, welcome, Christopher.
Uh, Thank you so much for having me on, Yuri. It's a pleasure to be here.
How does it feel to have such an amazing colleague as Honey?
She is invaluable, really. Especially working from home and talking to myself for the vast majority of the day as I am. She's currently on the bed outside the studio at the moment right now, having a bit of a sleep because, she has to have a kind of afternoon siesta. Having any level of companionship is great because, as we know, freelancing can be quite lonely, and you could get feelings of uncertainty, anxiety, paranoia, all of those kind of things. So being able to have a furry colleague to focus on instead and kind of ladle attention over is a huge distraction. It just reminds you that the stuff outside, all of the random kind of frenzied thoughts in your head and the various to-do lists that you've got up and all of those kind of things, that what's it all for? Well, it's to feed this little thing over here, and my wife, obviously, and the wife. Both of them are very important to me. So yeah, she's great, and she's also I get a lot of mileage from her in terms of free value added social media content, because you can't really beat kind of pet themed posts, because most people have pets, or at least did at one stage. So it's kind of like it's the kind of get out of jail free card if you have nothing else inspirational or educational to post instead.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you have a cat or a dog,
Yeah.
just both them. It
Yeah.
will be like
People go, oh, it's so
top
cute.
top content. Exactly.
Oh, they look
And
like you. Yeah.
for you, what is the most challenging part of being a freelancer?
The most challenging part, is to me, is not being able to let go. You can't, because you can't clock off.
Mm.
Not that I have had many jobs, where I can just kind of like clock off, but from my acting background, I was either performing and everything was amazing and wonderful all of the time, but it was all consuming as a result, or I was in my resting work. So that
Mm.
would be either working at a theatre, but selling tickets at a box office, or being front of house, or working in a pub, where in all honesty, I wasn't that emotionally invested in my work. But therefore, when it came to 6 o'clock or whenever, I could punch out and think about the rest of my life and just escape everything. Whereas, as it is, as a freelancer, it's kind of like the business only stops when you do. And therefore, the temptation, although, in theory, on paper, that's incredibly freeing, what that actually means is that it's almost impossible to stop. And I mean, like, we're coming up to, when we're recording this now, we're coming up to Christmas. And yes, I will be taking a week off. And this is amazing, and this is a great thing. And one of the reasons, I love being a freelancer is that I can enjoy the freedom to be able to do all of these things. But at the same time, I'm also, the first thing is like, is it all going to stop? Like, when I come back on the first week of January, you're like, am I going to get a job? Is
Mm.
anybody going to email me? Am I going to have any work? Because if I don't, I'm in trouble, because I've got a mortgage and various other expenses. Cat, as we've already mentioned, wife, as we've already mentioned, uh, you know, and that weight is on you. And I think, especially for freelancers who are working on their own and maybe not in a shared space but working from home, I think that can compound it. It's wonderful. I'm currently voicing from my own kind of studio where I do 99% of my work, which is great. But it is a room in my house. And
Mhm.
so therefore, because it's in my house, I can just pop in to check that email or record that thing or whatever. Whereas If it was, half an hour down the road or a bit more of a hassle, yes, that would be a hassle. And this is the whole reason why I have a home studio. But it means that when I get that last minute client inquiry, I'm more tended to go, oh, I'll just pop in and do it now. I won't wait until first thing tomorrow morning when I'm in office hours. I'll just do it now, which means that you'll never, which is great, but also means that you'll never, you can be sat in front of Netflix trying to disengage and trying to relax, but there's always that 5% of your brain going like, should I just check my emails? Is there anything else? That kind of thing. So yeah, that.
Yeah, I totally get it because, my computer is also like stays in a room and
Yeah.
then I have an open door and like any second I have a free minute, I'm just seeing the computer and like, maybe I should check something.
Yeah,
Maybe I should answer some
there's
message.
always something else you can do, isn't there? There's the to-do lists never end. You cross all the stuff on your wall or whatever, but then there's always stuff to add to it. So, I mean, that is the challenge.
And what is the most time consuming thing you deal with except for work itself?
Except for work itself. As a freelancer, I think it's just organizing my thoughts. It's thinking about the work. That's the most, like, in terms of actual energy. And it's like, oh, I don't mean kind of sat down time. I'm like lying in bed, trying to get to sleep and not being able to for 2 hours time that I can't get back because I need that time to sleep as well at the same time. It's kind of going, how do you order the priorities? Am I focusing on the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Can I trust, I'm not seeing return on investment in X, Y, or Z thing that I'm doing. Am I paying the right person? Have I hired the right person to do X, Y, or Z? Should I have said yes to that really low paid job just because it would have tied me over quite well? All of those different kind of things. That's the stuff. It's the stuff that where you're not actually acting, you're not actually
Mhm.
participating in your business, you're not taking positive action and getting stuff done. You're just expending energy and it's bleeding through all of the time. And so, sorry to be a bit of a broken record, but that I think is the main thing is that it's like you get caught up in the in the feedback loop, um rather than just going like you do this and then you do this and then you do this, ABC, done, stop, and that's it. It never works like that, never, and I know it
Never.
never will. But
But what are those small steps you are taking to make things work, to
sure.
go away from those thoughts?
So I think my main thing is that I'm a big time blocker. To use a real kind of productivity mindset kind of stuff, is there's a book called Getting Things Done.
Hmm.
And with all of these productivity books and stuff like that, I'd say rather than that's a kind of like a black hole into itself. You can disappear into them and be reading more about productivity than actually being productive. Um, but his process about like collecting all of the different things that you might want to do and everything, and then organizing it, and then prioritizing it, and then actioning it, I find really useful. And so, because the blessing and the curse of being a freelancer is that your time is in theory free. So you look at your calendar and you go, I will never work again. Oh my God, it's all coming to an end. Is to then try and structure my time as much as possible. So I literally list down all of the stuff that I need to get done, and then I prioritize it. So what is the stuff that like are the non-negotiables, and then what is the optional stuff that you can fit in. Oh, it would be nice to get this done this week or today, but it doesn't need to. And then I plot about half of my week, so I've got enough structure to know that if I've got nothing else done, then that hour I should do content creation for an hour, or I should do emails for an hour, or I should mess around with some video editing for an hour or whatever. So I'm not just sat here going, I don't know what to begin doing, so I'm going to do nothing, I'm going to procrastinate, all of those kind of things. So I've got a bit of a structure, but at the same time I can't rigidly do it because that's not how freelancing works. We all know as soon as you kind of like go, I've got great plan. It's like you book a holiday. I know exactly what I'm doing for the next 5 days. And as soon as you press pay, as soon as you've entered your debit card details in and booked it, that is guaranteed going to be within 5 minutes an email from a client going, Hi, we've got this amazing job for you, but we need you available on the day that you're supposed to be in the airport. It is guaranteed that that will happen. So you've got to have that flexibility at the same time. So because the vast majority of jobs that I do need to be turned over within 24 hours, if not
Mm-hmm.
same day,
Mm-hmm.
so I know that I need at least 3 hours a day to just be responsive to
Mm-hmm.
things. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's when knowing, well, what are the tasks that I can squeeze in if I've got a free hour, but which if something comes in, I can drop it and it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
if I'm halfway through it, I've barely got started or whatever, it's not a high priority thing, but it's a thing that I can do, during the downtime as well. Uh, Whereas, there are certain tasks that we know we have to do. We have to send these emails or we have to make these social media posts at some point. That's when it's non-negotiable time. I put my phone on airplane mode,
Mm-hmm.
and that the emails I receive and the calls I receive during that hour, I will catch up to afterwards. That stuff needs to get done first and needs to take a priority, because that's the other kind of feedback loop as a freelancer is that you can be rolling in the work, and when you're rolling in the work, it means that you're not doing all of the essential stuff to keep the work coming in. And that's
Yeah.
when you get on the roller coaster of like, I'm really busy. Oh my God, I'll never work again. I'm really busy. Oh my God, I'll never work again. So, and that, I have not landed on that process, you know, d- via inspiration. It's purely from bitter experience of having gone on that roller coaster ride.
Talking about this experience, what is the most nerve-consuming thing you deal with as a freelancer?
Um, I mean, I'd say I'll cheat and I'll say there's two. Uh, the first one is obviously kind of going, what is the right thing that I should be doing right now? Should I be sending emails to people or should I be doing lots of social media? For example,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big thing that, like, even in the last year was kind of like a real focus. And now I just have to go like, well, I'm going all in on one. And then after a certain period of time, I step back and I review, and then I try the other thing, and then I've
Mm-hmm.
got a comparison. But it's that uncertainty. And I think that's the main kind of concern for me. I'm pretty confident in my job and what I'm doing, and what my skill set is and what I can deliver. So that's the big thing. And then I'd say, though, on the other hand, the other big thing that is very kind of specific to voiceover, uh, is for, well, maybe not actually. I think it's maybe relevant to anybody who freelances. Is the comparison trap.
Mm.
You see what people who maybe where you think either your peers or people doing something similar to, or people who are much more successful than you or appear to be much more successful than you, and you question what are they doing that I'm not doing, or what are they not doing that I am doing. Oh God. And that could be, from an acting point of view, it's literally even in terms of an audition. Like, well, I should be doing my best audition. What is auditioning well? What does that
Mm-hmm.
mean? Does that mean doing your strongest personal take? Does that mean taking on board, the direction that you get, even though it might not make sense? And you're going, why did they ask me to even audition for this? Because, first of all, I'm not a 56-year-old housewife, so I think this is wrong. But also, so there's all those kind of uncertainties. And that's when you've got to kind of trust your instincts, but also learn from kind of bitter experience. And that's when the learning comes in. But it's that thing about like, I'm not sure what it is what is demanded of me right now. I think those moments are the toughest to negotiate, and especially when you're stuck in the comparison trap, because social media is everybody else's highlights more often than not. So you get that sense that everybody else is always putting their right foot forward, and you're just kind of like not so much walking as falling over. So that's where the risk can be.
And the fun thing is that you are usually not following less successful people. You're always trying to learn from somebody, always try to see what somebody is doing
Yeah,
better. And
yeah,
you're falling into this trap. Oh my God, everyone is better than me. And then like you have to go back and understand that there are people better than me. They
yeah,
will always be, but, and I feel like it's the hardest part when, this but part.
Yeah.
What do you usually say to yourself in this but part?
I mean, the but is, but they're not me.
Mm,
And we're so we never get the full picture of what another person is going through,
yeah.
either in their personal life or in their business. Even if someone, posts like, these are what my earnings are, or I've just worked with X, Y, or Z kind of like client, there's so much smoke and mirrors that what you're actually comparing yourself to is not even real. It's a product of your own anxiety and confusion a lot of the times. So being able to then kind of scale it back in terms of like the actions of
Hmm.
what actions can I be doing, and what feels right to me, and kind of learning to listen to your gut, I think is really important. And also just being kind of having faith in the process, and that process is often failure. And saying that that needs to be necessary sometimes. Like, it's the whole reason people A B
Mm,
test stuff and things like that. It's not like the A/B testing is kind of like this annoying thing that you have to do to get the result. It's part of the process to make sure that you're being as effective as possible. And it may be just a marginal gain, but you don't know until you try.
yeah.
So I think that's really the thing, in terms of like, you still need to take action. The one thing that you can't do is just stand still
Hmm.
and hope that something will appear from the ether. Somebody at the beginning of my career, when I was said, "Oh, I don't know how to reach out to people. I don't know how I'll get clients and all of this kind of stuff," said to me, "They're already not hiring you. So start from that. They're already not hiring you. You already do not have the job. So
Yeah.
anything that you actively do now is going to be a positive step in that direction. Even if it's like you take an action and it's the wrong action, then you learn from it and you don't do it again. Fantastic. Then we've learned something. Now you're narrowing, in terms of the crosshairs of what it is that you should be aiming at. But it's that kind of thing about, oh, I daren't reach out to someone like that because they're too high profile, or they'll never be interested in me, or they've already got someone that sounds like me or offers, all of these kind of things. First of all, you don't know that. And secondly, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Mm.
So I think that propulsion to keep moving forward, kind of like regardless, I think is the crucial step for me.
To your point, I don't know if it's a real story or not, that some kind of company like not spent, but some kind of employee made a mistake, which worth like millions of dollars. And then they asking CEO, would you fire this person? They were like, I've just invested so much in their education. Why would I fire this person?
Mm.
So I feel like it's very, very much pretty much the same way. Like even if you are doing something wrong, exactly, just, you are striving that way. So it's not like, oh my God, I will never do anything right again. So yeah,
Yeah, no, it's just the mindset in which you approach it with. I do have a structure, so it's like I will, with my cat, if necessary, have like every quarter, every 3 months, I'll look back at everything that I've done over the last 3 months and go, what has served me, what has worked, and what has not
hmm
worked.
hmm
Whether or not you go down into the figures of like pure return on investment and what you think. But only then can you actually kind of like properly engage and make informed decisions, rather
yeah,
than pretending to do exactly slavishly do what you think someone else is doing, and hoping that that exact template is the template for success, because they're not selling exactly the same thing as you in the first place, because you are you. And that's the other part of being a freelancer, is like, for me as a voice actor, it's literally my voice that people are buying. So my capacity to tell a story and my capacity to hopefully be engaging, all of those kind of things. So it's very personal. But regardless of what it is that you're selling, as a freelancer, it's your creation, or something that you share, or a mindset, or a company that you embody in some way, shape, or form. And you've got to kind of like be true to your individuality in that, rather than kind of use somebody else's criteria to judge it, if that makes sense.
And even if you are selling the same thing, I once was selling, strollers for children,
Yeah.
and I was like in the front shop. So I knew that there are like a lot of competitors after that. So people who will come to me, they will watch everything and they will say, okay, we'll go take a look.
Yeah.
And I understand that there are five more shops with the same strollers. And somehow people came back. So it's all about how you approach it also, even though you have the same product. And if your friend wanted to become a freelancer, what
Hmm.
are top three things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
Wow. Okay. So from a practical point of view, I mean, if possible, having some form of savings.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're assuming someone is in a full-time position and they're looking to take the transition into freelancing rather than freelancing just spontaneously from a state of unemployment, having some form of safety net so that you can trial and you can make actions, because I think as soon as you're making decisions based on need,
Hmm.
people feel it. They can sense the desperation in a lot of things, and that will never put you in your best light, I think, as well. So being able to have some form of a safety net, I would say, continuing to invest in your skill set. And making that not just something that you do at the beginning and then go,
Hmm.
I'm good enough, uh, and it's fine now. I'm a professional. It's all right, whatever that means to you. For me, that means kind of I am consistently coaching still
Hmm.
with people, depending on, new genres that I want to get into in terms of voiceover work, or, on the technical side of things, harnessing different technology to speed up my workflows, or being
Yeah.
able to outsource things to different people, whether or not that's using different things to speed up the content of, content creation, or, just editing an audio file, or being able to create more options for my clients and all of those kind of things, or being able to, for the cat cafe down the road or whatever, they might not know how to be able to put the voiceover with the video that they actually already have. So that's
Hmm.
something in terms of basic video editing things. It's like, well, that's an additional thing that I can have for you as well. So that kind of conscious skill building. And I think that goes in hand with probably my third point, which is just like being sensitive to what's coming over the hill in terms of the marketplace. So, like when I graduated from drama school, which was back in 2008, home studios, the idea that you would voice from home,
Mm.
that wasn't really a thing. It was for a
Yeah.
very small select number of voiceovers, but to set up at a home studio and get a good recording sound and everything would cost thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. Whereas now, not everybody, but you can get a good, decent kind of like sound from home because of the developments of technology.
Yeah.
Um, and those people who were like unwilling to go like, oh well, I'll learn how to use the computer and set up the microphone and know what the different programs do and all of those kind of stuff. Those people who are unwilling to learn those skills do not work anymore, unless you're a celebrity, in which case people are buying into that anyway, so it's kind of inconsequential. But if you don't move with the times, then you're gonna get a nasty surprise at the end. And similarly, I need to be conscious of the fact that, people are looking at AI voices
Yeah.
and all of these different kind of things. So I've got two options. I either completely ignore it and do exactly the same thing as I've always been doing, or I make a conscious awareness of that and I tailor my offering. I have dialogues with AI voice production companies and tech companies to see what's going on and to
Hmm.
see whether or not I can utilize that technology in any way, to keep myself as informed as possible. And it's also how I place myself in the market. So I mainly refer to myself as a voice actor as opposed to a voiceover. Most people will like most voice actors or voiceovers are like, oh my God, who cares about this distinction in any kind of way, shape, or form? It's so boring. Me, it's because I'm an actor first and foremost.
Yeah.
And like, even in terms of my marketing, if you go on my website, you do not see the microphone because
Mm,
to me and to any voiceover artist, voice actor, who has a microphone on their website, that's totally your decision. And I completely endorse it. That I'm not judging you here. Exactly. But anyway, uh, but to me, it's kind of like the focus then is on the technology as opposed to the person behind the technology.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like my skill set is hopefully in the performance and the storytelling and the emotion. It's not in the audio quality. It was like in the advent of home studios, like, yeah, you got to be able to, so that we don't feel as if you're recording in a bathroom and all of those kind of stuff. But I think increasingly, the focus is less like, is the audio quality going to be good enough? Because microphones have got better
Hmm.
and everything. So it doesn't take that much of an effort. So I think whilst all of the technical questions are answered on my website for those people who want to make sure that they
Yeah.
get a quality recording, that's not the focus of me. The focus is my acting. And I will continue to adjust my marketing as things continue to change. So that's why I'm leaning more into doing content creation as well,
Yeah.
is so that, I've got different kind of, different irons in the fire rather than just, I'm the voice behind the mic. So I think having a sensitivity to how things will continue to develop and change, and therefore how you can tie in together that whole continual skill building rather than go, I just need to learn the keyboard shortcuts that I need to learn, and then I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's helpful, but it should be a step on the journey.
Chris, I wish to have the sky as a limit, but time is a limit.
Sure,
So the
yes.
final question, if you were starting freelancing today, what is one thing you would have done differently?
One thing I would have done differently. I I think I mean I voice acting has been good to me, so I can't say I can't say in the stepping stone of freelancing that like there's like, oh my God, I wish I'd had. But having some form of mentor, and that doesn't necessarily need to be a mentor who does your job, but
Mm,
someone who you can bounce ideas off, but who has a certain degree of experience and success under their belt, but someone that you can actually have a dialogue, a proper kind of like dialogue with, I think is crucially important because as a freelancer, you end up kind of talking to yourself or your cat for a
yeah.
lot of these kind of things. So actually having a third party that you can who isn't like operating on your business because it's your business at the end of the day, that's why you're a freelancer, but somebody who you can actually have that kind of like dialogue with and bounce ideas off so that you're not operating in a vacuum, I think would be incredibly important. So someone else who's an established freelancer, who has made their own thing, and you like what they've made and what they're about. So
Yeah.
there are elements of their journey that you would like to emulate, to get a look under the hood, to see what they're really about, and to see the systems that got them there will give you lots of ideas to get going and get started, rather than the, oh my God, I've started, what the hell do I do now? Because then depending on which YouTube video that you've watched, you've got a
Yeah.
completely different to-do
Yeah.
list and you never get started again. So I think trying to find a mentor that you can really kind of like trust and have a good, honest conversation with on a semi-regular basis would be crucial.
Yeah. Got it. Chris, thank you very much for sharing your challenges and for having such an open conversation.
Oh, my pleasure, Yuri. Thank you so much for your time. Cheers.
And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.